You luck out once and suddenly you've got a fan club?
I mentioned last episode I hate Kyoji, and this line really does get to me, because were they really not cheering for him in the first round? You'd think they would have been, considering how hard they've been cheering for him every other battle. So, is this just really bad trash talk or something, or what?
You know, the one that uses way too much hair gel?
Furthermore, I don't get what he's doing here. Why would insulting Valt's hairstyle upset Shu in any way? Does Kyoji think Shu's into Valt or something? Like, what's his angle here? I don't get it.
How about less talk and more focus here?
Although this is a good line from Shu, if not hampered by how bad Kyoji's trash talk is, but I still like this line nonetheless. I also like how they set up the bubblegum pop thing, where when he pops the gum, the Beyblade Burst, because we get to see that payoff later in this episode, so it's cool to set it up at the start, so that it has a cool impact at the end when it happens.
I made kind of a promise to Shu. We're gonna meet each other in the finals.
Good to remind ourselves of this, since it only happened in episode 1, so I think it's fine to set this up here, especially because this episode is about Valt kind of losing himself at the end, so it's cool to set up the promise to show what our end goal is.
What's up, kid? Why all the racket? Go on. You wanted out, didn't you?
So this moment from Orochi is really good, because we have him doing something good for a member of Valt's family, which is what we did with Hoji. We can tell the difference between Orochi and Hoji and how he talks to Nika, where Hoji was a lot nicer to Toko talking to him. You can see Orochi's got a bit more aggression, which is good for setting up the difference in their personality while sticking to your general format.
He's got perfect pitch, but it's a lot more than that. He can sense a burst finish coming before it even happens.
Again, could we have explained what happened with the gum at the start of the episode was not mere coincidence, so again, they can set up well for the end of the episode.
His bass sounds like it's strong, but it's weak. Weak, and yet somehow kinda strong.
This is just so clunky. Could they really not think of anything better than saying it's strong but weak? At least maybe they could have had him describe, like, its speed, or something like, it has very high speed but low power, so it's kind of strong but weak in that way. Or it's a strong bay with a weak blader, that's another way to do it. Like, there's plenty of other ways to frame it that isn't just saying it's strong but weak.
Impressive. He was good.
Fuck, I love the humility Hoji shows here. It's so great. Just the fact that he lost the Valt and he's just completely not upset about it, which is, again, a good contrast with Wakia when he loses in episode 12.
It kind of felt like he was playing on a whole new level, you know? It's hard to describe, really. Like he was synced with his bae.
Also, another Hoji fun fact while I'm on them, that he's the first person to ever understand Valt's connection with his bae. Shu came close when he called him a natural blader, but this is the first time anyone ever points out that Valt's synced with his bae, and I think it's cool that it's Hoji, considering he's the only other person to consistently talk to his bae.
Maybe I shouldn't write him off as quick as I first thought.
Cool to see how Wakia values Hoji's opinion and the fact that he heard him out and just accepts it and decides to battle Valt off it, because it really shows that what he said in episode 7 was for real.
And the thing is, Honcho and I were kinda gonna go practice.
Interesting how Valt says Honcho and I, despite the fact that we know he's gonna do it with the whole Bay Club. Is this to set up that they're the central duo, or is it just more a random way to phrase it? I don't know. It's not bad or anything, I just think it's interesting.
That being said, I guess you could always do my top secret training some other time.
I did think this is a pretty cool way to have him manipulate him, and I like the fact that the training was shown to pay off in episode 6 is part of the reason why P continues to do it in moments like this, which is good for breaking down why this would work.
Want strength, decisiveness, plus explosiveness, and flexibility? My special little training method builds all of those things.
The first two I completely agree with, but what do you mean by explosiveness? Like extreme speed? I don't know how making bread builds that. And then versatility? Not at all. He's just doing the same task repeatedly. But hey, half marks, not bad. I guess Valt won't figure it out.
Mom, that was the hardest workout yet!
Valt?
What's interesting is that in the subbed version, there's a scene of Toko and Nika exhausted on the ground, but they cut that out of the dub, so here they just had a hard cut to this frame of animation. And after I realize what they'd done, I can't not notice this cut anymore. Yeah, this is a pretty good gag to establish why Orochi needs to tag along for them to find Wakia's house, and I wouldn't really call this contrived since someone needed to go with them.
So what do you say? Do you think you could show us how to get there?
What a huge help. Hop in, let's move. It's gonna be tough.
I also like how they set up the extreme pushiness of both of them. They kind of set it up with Valt's mom in episode 4, but I like how they continue to push it here in a more casual way, which is something they do in later episodes as well, and even carry on to later seasons.
Waki is waiting for us. This should be good.
I like how despite Orochi getting dragged here essentially, he still kind of warms up to the idea once he realizes he'll get to hear Wyvron again.
So, Valt. Ready to take me on? Let's do this, right here, right now.
I love how they set up a difference in delivery of the practice matches from the different kinds, where Daigo did it in a more friendly manner because he was fully acting, and then Hoji did it in a more desperate manner because he was actually desperate. And here we just got Wakia saying it like he always says it, which sets up the fact that Wakia can get on Valt's nerves really without doing anything new.
You are so funny. Anyone ever told you that? You crack me up for real.
Do you think this is kind of a cute workaround to the fact that Valt's line before was just really stupid? And I love the fact that the show points out how stupid it is by literally having Wakia laugh at it. So I figured I didn't need to talk about it here because the show clearly caught it, and this is a really good moment from Wakia, especially setting up his laugh, which I really love, by the way.
That's it! I'm gonna accept your challenge!
Like I said in episode 8, it's cool how they essentially set this up before, and then again, they've done 3 different things for why Valt accepted. Though again, I still think, even with this annoyance, you'd think he'd work out what the point of this was after he's been told twice.
Just another one-trick pony.
I love the fact that he's actually taking Valt seriously in his head, but then out loud he's just basically trash talking, because it does set up the fact that Wakia still has some respect for his opponents, but that he does like to come off as very powerful, so he needs to do this trash talk routine.
Yoo-hoo! You two okay? I just said bye to your babysitter. Wake up!
Hold up. You can just do that? Also, when did Valt's mum even call one in? And if she did, why would a bunch of 11-year-olds showing up convince that babysitter to leave? They must have been a really terrible babysitter if they just went, yep, their older brother's friends are here, time to go away.
Without his sidekicks, his backups, without his BFFs!
I really do like the setup for this joke. It's just so over the top in just the perfect way for me.
Hold tight. I'm coming. This hero is on the way to rescue you!
Also, this delivery is just so beautifully amazing.
A little over the top.
Also, again, this is an example of lampshading I kind of like, because it's not like this was a problem since it was the joke, but him lampshading it points out that it's not normal or anything.
How come it isn't working?
Nothing ever gets past my shield launch.
Like with Hoji, it's cool how Valt actually pulls off a legitimate launch. It's not a missed launch here, but shield launch is so powerful it still blocks it, because again, it really sets up well the power of Wakia, and also how powerful he is when he's in the center, which is good for setting up why Valt needs flash launch to beat him in episode 11.
While Wyvron's orbit is pretty intense, it's because there's a ball attached to its tip. It allows it to rotate independently, which is exactly how it shuts down its opponent's power.
The thing we see occasionally throughout the season is name-dropping tips. So they use orbit, and then later they use needle, which is interesting to me considering I don't think there's many seasons that do that. As well, I do like this explanation for how the shield launch works in terms of the tip, since the commentator gave it a very brief overview last episode.
What?
Wait, what? What's happening here?
Just an old-fashioned battle.
Figured as much.
The thing that's confusing to me is, what did Rantaro expect? Because he jumps in thinking that there's going to be a fight. What, did Hancho think that Waki was going, you know what, I thought I was really good at blading, but I think I'm a new man. I'm just going to go beat Valt up in my basement. That's how I'm going to win the semi-finals. I don't know what they're going for here, but regardless, it still was a decent joke.
Time to rock and roll! Break out your new move!
It would be a really dumb idea, Rantaro. Why would you do that in a practice match? Why wouldn't you save the new move for the actual match? And well, he does manage to mess it up, so it doesn't matter. I do think Rantaro's plan here is pretty faulty.
When did this happen?
What do you mean, Wakia? They literally name-dropped it in the last match. Where were you? Oh wait, you were there. What the hell? Basically, this could be a form of trash talk, so I could forgive it, but I think this is just a blatant continuity error.
Okay, I'm going for it. There's nothing left to lose. Let's do this!
I think this is a good justification for why Valt uses the flash launch anyway, so while the setup for this was not that great, I do like the payoff. So there's quite a bit I like about this scene. Firstly, we see it failing to grip the ridge, which is good for at least trying to set up a floor of Ultra Flash Launch, though if you think they do that, you're sorely mistaken. Also, I like the theme that they're playing, the theme that was playing when he messed up his launch against Daigo, and then also, I like the fact that it's not like colliding with the wall, it's more like scraping against it, which is why it loses with a ring out instead of a burst.
Who does a do-over just to show off their new move?
Just Wakia. Good thing there's only one of him.
Really cool how they comment on just the sheer level of cockiness that goes into this, but I also like how it's kind of setting up the fact that Wakia really must have faith in this new move, which is cool for setting up how strong it's going to be.
Nothing that impressive.
I love the double meaning behind this line, because he says not that impressive, as in what Valt's doing wasn't that impressive, because he knows Valt probably just instinctively decided not to. But then he says not that impressive, as in Valtryek's sound isn't that impressive, which is what he's also talking about. So cool that they managed to get both of those across in one line.
So that's the best you can do.
Also, fun fact, this is the first time Valt's ever cut off in his kind of cheering for Valtryek mid-battle, which is again a good way of showing how Wyvron is literally shutting down Valtryek's attack, and Wakia is shutting down Valt's cheering. So that's a pretty cool thing to do. Okay, I have a question about how this works. So, obviously Valtryek hits Wyvron and it goes up. We know that, but why does it settle in the center? Because we know that when it knocks a bay away, it continues on its usual trajectory. So why would it settle in the center in the exact position to get hit? Because they don't even need to do this, because we see in his match with Xander way later that Shield Crash can still connect with an attack type on its usual attack plane. It doesn't need to be in the center, so why they decide to have Valtryek sit in the center is kind of baffling. I guess they just really wanted to emphasize the whole pendulum thing.
Ball at the point of the tip doesn't just annihilate the opponent's attacks. It can counterattack as well, using the same physics as a pendulum.
Again, nothing's more funny to me than this show using the word physics. But regardless, I do think this is a pretty good explanation of Wakia's new move, and again, I definitely think it's warranted considering how much of a threat it becomes later.
It's time we gave this boy a reality check!
I love how he calls him this boy, because it sounds really condescending, but it also sets up a whole child thing, which is pretty nice considering the fact that he's just going to absolutely humble Valt, and it shows that he considers Valt to be inferior to him in terms of skill. Here's something interesting about Valtryek's bursting here. If you count the simultaneous burst with Daigo, this is its first burst in 4 episodes. If you're counting only solo burst, this is its first burst since it got burst by Rantaro in episode 2. And even then, that was due to a mislaunch. So this is the first time he's ever really got burst while using a technique, since against Daigo he was also using the fundamentals. So this really sets up a threat level for Wakia in a pretty effective manner.
Hey kid, think about getting yourself a different bay. Yours seems like it's a real dud.
So I love how this line is basically the inverse of the lesson Valt needs to learn, in the fact that here Wakia is saying that it was the bay's fault, not the blader's, whereas in the next episode Valt's literally learning to trust in his bay, which is cool that they can set that's going to be an arc up from this line, while also setting up why Valt gets so pissed at Wakia.
A little advice? Sad but true, not everybody's cut out to be a great blader.
I love the ghoulish look of Wakia by the animation. Don't know if that was an error, but man, it works. But also, this line is just really iconic Wakia. Like, this is one of the lines I think of most when I think of his best lines. This is so good for setting up his trash talk of Valt.
You did good, bud. Let's get some ice cream.
Nothing to win can't fix.
No worries.
I do think it's really cool the way those guys try and comfort him after the match. And I love the fact that Rantaro is basically telling him not to sweat, but then in the next episode he gets a bit more annoyed over Valt's attitude, which is pretty nice.
I beat Valt Aoi.
It's so cool how Shu just stops when he hears this, because it really does set up well their relationship, while also establishing that Shu didn't really think Valt would lose to someone this early, which is cool for showing how he thinks of him as pretty strong.
So, Shu, you better win your next match, cause then I can beat you. I'll be counting the days.
Also, this is a fantastic moment for setting up that Wakia is in a greater position of power after his win, which is really nice for setting up that Valt needs to come back to beat him.
Everything! I need your help!
I love this moment for showing Valt's desperation. It's so perfect how normally he has this real chill relationship with his mom, but here he's just back to being a child crying to her, because it's the best way to show just how far he's fallen after his loss to Wakia. Just well done, writers.
I can't fall asleep! I keep seeing Wakia in that stupid battle over and over again in my head!
I mean, firstly, this is just voice acting brilliance, but secondly, I love so much how he's just absolutely pounding that pillow, because it sets up so well how angry he is, which, again, it plays in super well to the next episode. Also, not only is it cool to completely reinforce his anger by having him throw the pillow there, but also it's nice how, when he says, I don't know what to do, they pan to Valtryek, setting up what they're going to do with the next episode. Overall, this episode does a great job at setting up characters like Orochi, and does a fantastic job of setting up how threatening Wakia is, and setting up well for the next episode where Valt has to recover from this loss. Speaking of that, the next episode is also really good, so see you then.